Persona 4 is my all-time favorite Persona game, and a new mod has just been released to enhance the experience of the golden PC port several fold. This mod adds to the visual experience and makes this version of the game even more fun for me personally, and I'm excited to go over everything it has to offer. Keep in mind, this is still a work in progress mod sitting at around 40% completion, but what's currently provided is still a game changer and I love it already. Enough of the foreplay, let's go ahead and get started. This mod I'm giving such high praise for is aptly titled P4 Fog Restoration, created by the amazing modder BrawlerAce, who has done several brilliant mods for other Persona titles, such as the Persona 3 Portable Quality of Life mod, and this new mod is in my opinion their best work yet. So what exactly does this mod strive to do? In the words of BrawlerAce themselves, this mod is a visual overhaul mod for Persona 4 Golden that aims to restore the visuals of Persona 4, starting with some of the most iconic areas of the original P4, the dungeons. And you might be wondering what they mean about restoring the visuals of the original Persona 4, so let me explain. The original Persona 4 had a bit of a different look to it in terms of the tone and atmosphere, and this is not to say that Golden's tone or atmosphere or whatever is inherently bad, as the modder made clear to mention in this comment shown on screen, but some people really do like how the original PlayStation version of Persona 4 looked, and this mod is aiming to replicate that style and bring it to the modern Golden version. As I said before, this mod is still a work in progress, so right now the main focus is getting the dungeons done, and then they will move on to other things such as the overworld areas. The end goal of this project is to have every field in the game, perhaps including even the Golden exclusive areas, overhauled with the PS2 visual style. Since there aren't any changes to the overworld yet, I'd like to show you some small comparisons of Golden on PC and the original on PS2 in terms of the overworld before we go into the mod itself. The best places to show this are right at the beginning of the game, when Narukami arrives in Inaba. The first few days showcase the difference in style the two games were going for very well. So take Narukami leaving the station for the first time as an example. You can see that it's a bit more dark and moody, and this is shown once again once they arrive at the Dojima residence. The most obvious example of the changes between the two versions, however, is this moment when Chie, Yukiko, and Narukami are walking home from school together. Notice how much more foggy it is in the backdrop, and honestly the PS2 has a bit of a higher fidelity with the small hill in the back as well, and the power lines are completely gone in the Golden version. Things like the road have a higher texture quality in the Golden version, as is the case with most things in Golden, so it's not like it's all bad. Again, the reason I'm showing all of this is to show why this mod exists in the first place. There's a certain charm to both the Golden and the PS2 version, so combining the best of the two together makes for an awesome experience, and even if you prefer the Golden visual style, it could give you an excuse to play through the game with a fresh coat of paint. So overall, this mod is amazing on all fronts. But before I get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and show off the mod in action. I'll be giving a small comment on each dungeon and the changes, and then I'll give a comparison between the versions so you can see more clearly the difference between them. Starting off with the very first area in the TV world, which is more or less your main hub, there's a bit more fog and it lowers the brightness or contrast a bit, if you will. This is something the mod did across the board for most of the dungeons, and I quite like the more moody and grainy look to the dungeons. The very first dungeon in the game, Yukiko's castle, brings back the white and red fog in the place of the black fog, and it changes to a darker red as you progress higher up the castle. This is one of the biggest upgrades for me personally with the mod, but again, I want to emphasize that both are good in their own way. The Bathhouse dungeon restores the more brown fog in place of the more orangish color Golden chose to go with. This one looks great in both versions, but the difference between the two is clear. Which one do you think looks best? The Striptease dungeon replaces the black fog with the purple fog, and as someone whose favorite color is purple, this is one of my favorite dungeons in Persona 4. The Void Quest dungeon honestly doesn't look too different outside of the entrance. In general, it's just a tad bit darker, but even smaller changes like this can give the game a breath of fresh air. I believe this one overall is the most similar between the two versions besides maybe Magatsu Inaba, which we will get to momentarily. The Secret Laboratory has major differences between the two though. The golden version made it a bit more realistic, if you will. It's not the best description at all, but I digress. Whereas the original made the fog a thick green, which gave it a more military kind of feel. You could call it the Kiwami version, if you will, and it's pretty good looking. The best dungeon in all of Persona 4, Heaven, had pretty large changes as well. The first few floors aren't too different, but as you progress higher, the differences become more clear. And I must confess, I do prefer the original style for this one, but Golden is still goated too. Magatsu Inaba has some fairly small changes as well. Similarly to the Void Quest dungeon, it's just a bit darker, and I actually do prefer the golden version in some ways, which just goes to prove my point of both versions having merit. The Hollow Forest just didn't exist in the original game, so we can move into the final dungeon of the game, Yomotsu Hirasaka, and this one has the least changes of all from what I can see. Fog is the same color, and it really isn't too much different in general. The mod just made it a bit darker, and there's a thicker fog covering your vision, but that small difference does make it look quite nice actually. And with the final dungeon covered, that wraps up what is currently available in this version of the mod. For being only 40% complete, this is extremely impressive, and I've been having a blast playing through the game again with this mod installed. I'm really looking forward to seeing the overworld get overhauled because that's what I really think the original did best in. But again, I want to emphasize for the 50th time that that doesn't mean Golden looks bad. Both are good. I'm bound to have missed a few things here or there with this mod, so I really recommend you go check out the modder on Twitter for more updates and detailed breakdowns of the differences between the mod and the base game. And if you'd like to contribute to the development of this mod since this person is working on this by themselves, then please check out the mod link in the description. They have a link where you can learn more about how to help more directly. And that's going to be it for me for this video though, homies. What do you think about the mod so far? Are you impressed? Maybe curious to try it out yourself? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please drop some comments. I tend to read and respond to all of them. If you enjoyed this video, I'd also appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I'll even give you a virtual cookie. Bam! Here you go. With that said, it's been your boy Andre Gogeta, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out everybody, and have a great day.